into the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Can you handle this? Michelle, can you handle this? Beyonce, can you handle this?
I don't think they can handle this. Woo! Welcome to the I Am Cait After Show. I'm your host, Danica Kennedy, and we're doing Season 1, Episode 6 of I Am Cait, The Dating Game. You can find me on Twitter at Danica Kennedy, and I'm joined by Tiona Hobson. Where can they find you online?
I am online at the Tiona Hobson.
And we have Shar Jossell. Where can they find you online?
Shar says so, and that's Shar with an S. I saw a lot of y'all misspelling my name with a C. It's Shar with an S. All S is Shar says so.
I do love that Twitter name, by the way.
Thank you,
Shar says
Danica.
so. Fabulous.
Thank you.
So I really liked this episode. Lots of
Loved
dating
it.
talk. And it's girls' night tonight. Check it out. Bootylicious.
We got
Who
in the
run the
house.
world? Who run the world?
Girls.
Thank you.
Queen Bee said so we're just repeating it. She knows what's up.
She does.
But lots of topics in this episode, but all kind of centered around dating, which I find very interesting because Caitlyn seems like she doesn't really know what she wants for the most part. But what did you guys think of tonight's episode?
I loved it. I thought it was really fun, and it was kind of, I don't know, there was still the serious, moments of going to camp and things with Candace's life, but it was also a little lighthearted where they got to go out and have fun and be girls. And
I always say my favorite thing about I Am Cait is that it is informative and it's educational, but it's also entertaining. It always has that Kardashian twist to it. Overall, I really did like the episode because I feel like whether you be transgender or not, or cisgender, every woman could relate to this episode. Every woman.
A lot of it was just like struggles of being a woman more than anything, I felt like. A lot of it's very relatable, and there's not that big of a difference when you really think of it in like the broad
It's
picture.
really not. It's really not.
I thought it was very interesting that they started off with, what's their faces? Johnny and Courtney. I was like, who the hell is Johnny?
I didn't jot it down right here, but that was very...
It was very, like,
thrown in
random
there.
Stage setup, I felt like, because I had no idea who he was, and it was just kind of thrown in there. But I liked it because he seemed very kind of like blue collar, like normal cornbread
fed
from like
Midwest,
America.
Grew up
but
on
I
the
feel like they
farm.
kind of shot that scene after this episode for some reason and just kind of
It
pieced
was
it
like
there.
random, like fill in.
Yeah. But I enjoyed his perspective, but I did think it was very, very interesting because, I mean, every man is different. But as far as he was, when he was talking to Courtney, when she asked him, how would you feel if I told you I was trans? Because he said it all depended on when someone revealed they were trans, if he would pursue a relationship with them or not. And he said that it was kind of deceptive. And, I beg to differ. I don't know if I'm being biased, but I beg to differ. I don't tell every man that I am it depends. You got to get the tone of the date. Okay.
It depends on the person and the situation.
Exactly.
Probably.
And you have to be discerning. If we're at a bar or a club and you buy me a drink, I'm not going to be like, oh, thanks for the drink, by the way.
First conversation icebreaker.
No, if I don't see this going anywhere, then I don't see. The thing for me is it's not a secret, but it's also not your business. Like it's not a secret, but it's your business if it calls for it to be your business. But if I don't see us going anywhere, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well,
I get you.
What would
if
be
you
the
take
point
it
in saying it?
seriously, then if you want the person to be in your life a long time and you're taking it seriously and you're going to that next step, maybe. But if you're just like having fun and dating and like going on Tinder and stuff, it's like, how soon do you bring that crap up?
Yeah.
Don't bring up Tinder.
I know. I'm kind of traumatized from it too. It's horrible.
Girl.
I got swiped left in real life. This guy, like, I talked to him on Tinder, and then I stopped talking to him, and he saw me at Trader Joe's, and he was like, it was the worst but funniest thing ever. I was like,
Okay.
Are you kidding me?
Works for me.
I'm sorry that happened to you, but I kind of want to be this guy's friend.
It's sad. It kind of made me like him more, even though he was being a dick. I was like, oh, he's kind of funny.
It's like a Prince move.
Just messed
Yeah,
up.
it's like
dating in Los Angeles.
But I do think that it's just different overall, because in closing to this topic for me, I'll say that some guys I do feel compelled to tell within the first 5 minutes, but I'm also and I share this on my Shar Says So YouTube channel. I did an Ask Shar recently for episode 75, and I got asked a question about this, and I'm not a fan of wasting people's time. So, but with that being said, like I said, some guys I tell the first time, the first date, and then some guys I let the conversation build. But I make sure, because I don't ever want a man to feel as if I wasted his time. It's like you got to set the temperament, and you have to be discerning. That's what it boils down to. But I really did appreciate his perspective.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that they kind of had him come in and say his perspective. And I've kind of always wondered that, like, how soon do you bring it up if you're trans when you're dating someone? And it depends on, like, if you're just casually dating, I guess.
Everybody's
and if you're looking
different.
for a relationship.
I've been on dinner dates and I haven't told guys. I mean, it's a,
Yeah.
Should I say that on air? Like,
yes, you should, because it's also...
No, you definitely should.
Yeah, and it also goes to the point of, like, if I'm dating someone else, but we go and have dinner, like,
We're not mutually dating.
We're not mutually exclusive, so if I want to go have other dates, you're having other dates, like, until we have that, until I feel it's to a point of me being like, okay, I think I really kind of like this person. It's getting to a point of, like, almost seriousness. Then I'm gonna cut the strings on other people. But until then, like,
So then why?
but you also have to be careful with that narrative. So, like I said, I appreciate his what he's brought to the conversation, but there's this huge misconception that trans people are just out here trying to fool and deceive men.
No.
That is a huge misconception, though, especially with trans women of color. For whatever reason, I guess because a lot of, trans girls are running around Hollywood with rappers and actors and things like that. And that's always the excuse people jump to if they get caught with the trans woman. Oh, I didn't know, or she tricked me. So it's so easy to go into that whole deception type narrative, like she, out here fooling me.
I get that I didn't know, but I don't like that I got tricked. Way of dealing with it. I'm like, no, it's not about that. They weren't like playing you or anything. They're just being who they want to be and how they feel that they are.
But it happens. It happens more often than you would think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was telling you earlier, I've had a friend that's trans, and I had no idea she was transgender for the first 2 years we were friends. And once I found out, I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense now. Like, little things here and there, but it didn't really matter anything, and our relationship didn't change. But I'm sure people meet, like, trans women all the time and have no idea, that's you. You're like right here.
Typically, I have that privilege of navigating the world and not being met with any, like, rebuttal. Like, I'm not the girl to walk down the street and people be like, oh, that's a dude. Like, that doesn't happen. Knock on wood.
And,
there's
like,
no wood around here.
Candace and, like, you probably have that, but I mean, Caitlyn,
I get jobs okay and things like that.
Still treated like a man a lot.
Probably.
People see Bruce, I think, when they see Caitlyn, and I think she's having a hard time, like,
coping with
figuring out what she wants sexually. I think she
which is
really
strange
seems
to me,
like kind of lost. She doesn't ever answer the question. Did you notice that she kind of beats around the bush?
She does beat around the bush, but I also don't blame her, because everything she's done has been so public and so in a space of, like, oh, you said this, so that's only what you can have. Yeah. Whereas why can't she go out there and kind of play the field and see what she does like and what she doesn't like?
I'm actually glad that in the Diane Sawyer piece that she said that she was attracted to women. Because so often people think that being trans is like, oh, that's gay to the next level. Like, you ain't have to do it. So to hear her say that she was attracted to women, that totally changed the conversation in a lot of households, I know. Because, like I said, a lot of times that's another misconception people have about trans people. They get gender identity confused with sexual preference a lot of the times. You know what I'm saying?
Totally separate things.
Totally separate. Who you go to bed with it's who you go to bed with, not who you go to bed. No, who you go to bed as, excuse me, not who you go to bed with. That's what transness is.
How you feel.
Yeah, it's more about you than it is your partner. So that's why,
I think she's into girls though, because that
she
clip
is.
of her at the Abbey, she was not feeling
the
it.
bulges.
I mean, I'm more into the Abbey than Caitlyn was. Have you seen those men? I mean, they're so not interested in me, but they're beautiful.
They're not interested in me
best
either.
dancers.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, yeah. Caitlyn is, and she's very, very flirtatious. She was more into Candace and stuffing that 20 in Candace's brassiere than she was, the dancing guys. So, but I did think that was
see her like out though, because that like she loves hermiting at her house, and she's out and about at the Abbey, which is so much fun. I love that place, but it is very wild and crazy.
It is, and always crowded, and there's always a bachelorette party.
She's 65, like it's too high energy for me. Like
the
sometimes,
lights, the strobe lights, the music.
It's like
I was just laughing at her though.
Yeah, I have like some aunties and like older people in my family who are around Caitlyn's age, and they wouldn't go out to a place like the Abbey just out of pure hey, I'm too old for this mess right here. So, I was very proud of Caitlyn for actually going out and like trying it. She clearly might not have liked it that much, but hey,
I feel like anything that Candace suggests, Caitlyn is going to do.
Oh,
it wouldn't fly with any of the other girlfriends. It wouldn't fly if Jen Richards or Zachary or Jenny Boylan or any. I think anything that Candace Kane recommends, suggests, or says, Caitlyn, it may be met with resistance at first, but Caitlyn's going to do it.
But is that also her way of flirting? Because when
Possibly.
people are like, oh, let's do this, you're like,
get drinks.
oh, I don't know. And then like you just want the person to like really
egg you
want
on,
you to
yeah.
come. So then it's kind of like, okay, well, if you
I wonder
really
how she
want
would
me
react
there.
if Candace was like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
You don't want to come?
Do you?
Okay.
You
do you,
your
boo?
thing.
But I mean, speaking of Candace, she was kind of. I like
Way
Candace.
more her scene
She
there.
was, it was way more about Candace jumping up on stage and dancing on the ceiling rafters.
Yeah.
with
The
the
show I Am
dancers.
Candace.
I think it got a name change.
Depends on what week it is.
IMC.
Depends on what
Forget
week
the K
it is,
names. All
right?
about C names on the show.
Candace and Cait. E presents Candace and Cait season 2. And
Candace
two
and
girls
Cait
running
take
around
the South.
Hollywood.
And the
Candace and Cait
tagline
take
is
Miami.
super fun Candace drags her bestie along for the ride,
Yep.
Caitlyn.
Like Oprah and Gail's road trip. But what I did
would
think,
love that though. I would totally watch it.
I would too. They did a road trip, especially like the wilderness in the South. But what I did enjoy seeing is Candace going to her doctor's appointment. Because for someone like me, it's always interesting when I see people of privilege struggle with healthcare and finding, the right doctors. Like I
you
was
have
like,
so
wow,
much money.
that's amazing. You're an actress in Hollywood and you have access to all of these resources. And you don't have a doctor? Like, that was fascinating to me because it just goes to show that it could happen to anyone, whether you're a Joe Schmo or, you're Candace Kane in Hollywood. You can still, have trouble. And she was dosing herself. That is dangerous. That is very, very dangerous for a trans person to be measuring their dosages based on how they feel.
And I think it brought another perspective for Caitlyn because, we've seen Caitlyn have so much privilege, and for her to see that or hear the stories even of how doctors treated Candace in the past. And Caitlyn was even shocked by that. And, we've seen Caitlyn be shocked about all these other things, but those were always from people like when she went to San Francisco. She was shocked by those stories, but those were also stories where, like, it's not the same quite situation financially and stuff. So I think Caitlyn also is thinking, like...
She's in a very particular shoes.
Yeah.
She's the only one.
Yeah, so she's like, well, yeah, that happened to you, but, like, it might not ever happen to me, but to see that it happened to Candace really opens her eyes a little bit more.
I didn't think about that. That probably put things into perspective. I've had issues with doctors out here. Matter of fact, I just got a new primary care physician 2 weeks ago. I've had major issues with doctors. First doctor didn't feel comfortable prescribing me. He assumed I was cisgender. And when we got to talk, it's always funny when the nurse comes in and asks me when my last pap smear was, or have I ever been pregnant, and when was my last period. But
those are fun questions for us to answer.
But
Don't remember crap.
when I left, just really quickly, when I left Chicago, my doctor gave me like the bonus package of hormones. So I didn't run out until April. But my dumb ass did not start looking for a doctor until I ran out versus looking,
looking
and
ahead.
so all summer was really a struggle for me finding a doctor. Like I said, the first doctor didn't feel comfortable once he found out I was trans. And then my second doctor was a woman who was very, very nice to me. But when she found out I was trans, she became very short with me and very kind of flippant. And I'm like, it's just so, coming from Chicago, you think of California as being so, well, LA in particular, being just
More
so
welcoming and
evolved, and to
open.
find that there's more resources. When I really sat back and thought about it, Chicago has more access to resources and is a little bit more liberal when it comes to trans people. And that
Interesting.
baffled me. So, but yeah, I got my doctor and I'm back on my hormones. So I'm all good.
That's so horrible, though, that people will treat you one way and then be like short once they find out. I just can't even imagine. Like,
I'm
dealing
used
with
to
that.
it from, well, no, I'm not going to even say that. I was going to say I'm used to it from men, but I've actually met more cooler guys than I have cooler women when it comes to, which is weird to me.
Interesting.
Girls are petty and we're bitches to each
Oh,
other.
I know.
So,
I know.
It's true. Girls are mean.
It's like, I don't even know
Yeah.
I'm sitting on the same side of the table as you right now.
Girl.
Ew.
Why do you think I'm sitting over here? I needed this like 2-foot space, obviously.
Yeah. But it was interesting to see Candace go through. I'm like, girl, I was going through the same. And I look at myself as a regular Joe Schmo. Talented, but regular Joe Schmo,
It's very true.
I don't know. You kind of remind me of Candace with this whole story right now. I don't know, just like
Really?
Yeah,
but I wasn't
just
dosing
like-
myself because you have to have your blood levels checked. You can OD.
Oh yeah.
There's some health risks, especially because I do the shots. I don't mean to be putting all my business out here like this, but
No, I love that you're saying.
I do
this.
injectables. I don't do the pills because it's straight to your bloodline. So it's just like,
I
think
love
I could do
hearing
that.
about this though
have
because
to stab my
I
thigh
didn't
every
know
2 weeks.
that. Like I thought I've heard of people taking it like pill wise and getting really sick from it and like.
But I never
feeling
get
really
sick.
and you don't feel sick.
no. If anything,
I
it's a
find that also
psychological
fascinating.
warfare and not anything crazy like, oh, am I going to kill myself today, so to speak. It's just like, 1 minute I feel really bitchy, 1 minute I feel really pretty, 1 minute I feel really ugly. 1 minute I can clear out a buffet, the next I'm irritated and I don't even want to look at food. Like, I don't know if that's just a Shar thing
That's a
or
woman
if
thing.
everybody,
Being a woman. Hormones.
So,
The hormones are
yeah.
working right.
But I never shared
How
that with anyone. So this
hormones
is my
feel.
first time
Thank you for opening up.
kind
to
of
us.
revealing my
Yeah.
struggles with access to hormones in LA.
No, I love that you're hosting on this show with us and you've been coming on because, I mean, I love Stefan and Bobby, but we are all straight, cisgender people, and it's so great to have another voice on our panel that's, like, actually relating to what Caitlyn's going through and the whole process, and I find it all fascinating, especially because this show is kind of, like, introducing a lot of things to me. Not really, like the transgender community or anything, but like I didn't know there was like summer camps for kids that were transgender.
I didn't know that
about
either, Danica.
Like trans pride.
I didn't know that either, Danica.
I was like, I
did.
didn't know about any of this stuff. Like, but just imagining being like a kid and going to regular summer camp, I imagine that to be like a trans kid at regular summer camp. That would
Torture.
be horrible.
Torture. You're isolated from your family, all things that's familiar. And you have people picking apart, people who you're just meeting, picking apart your every move in the wilderness.
Of
But
all places.
if you're trans and you go to that trans summer camp, that
Yeah.
would be the best thing ever to like get away from your family and everyone else that's like giving you crap and like
And it's
be around
reaffirming.
people that are like you or going through similar situations.
And I like that.
So cool.
I didn't write down her name, but one of the kids was talking about how, it's not even about the conversations. It's just being in a place where you're just having fun and that everyone is just like you, so they're more welcoming and
There's no
accepting.
hang-ups.
It's like there's no hang-ups, there's no beef, there's no drama. It's just some kids getting together and having fun without the burden of being at another summer camp where everyone might be asking questions and just constantly
side-eyeing
on
you.
and side-eyeing you. It's like here, everyone is equal, everyone's the same as it should be everywhere, and we can just enjoy summer camp without
they're just
feeling-
non-judgmental,
Yeah.
just chilling, like
Yeah.
having a good time. You're not like, oh, I have to act like I'm someone else or anything like that. I think it's so cool that they have that, but I had no idea that existed. I was like, what? That's awesome. It's really interesting for me to watch like the really young kids go through it, especially
Yeah.
compared to Caitlyn, because Caitlyn's like kind of the spokesperson right now and the inspiration, and these people are so young and they're going through it way earlier than Caitlyn ever did.
And they'll
I think
probably
it's
have it
interesting.
easier. I mean, I had it easier. I wasn't.
I think earlier than easier, probably.
I did a radio interview right after the Vanity Fair, and I had to emphasize that Caitlyn's story, because so many people want, the spokesperson, Caitlyn's story is not in any way, shape, or form a direct reflection of mine. Okay? I've never been attracted to women. I've never submerged. I mean, what word am I looking for? Kind of like suppressed my transness with athletics and things like that and distractions. Like, no, I come from a totally different situation than Caitlyn. So it's important to acknowledge that even though Caitlyn is kind of like the spokesperson, her story does not necessarily speak to every or for every trans person.
She has a very unique situation.
That's what I love about it.
Privileged too.
That's what I love.
So
it makes me salivate. I love Caitlyn's story because it's so different. There's so many layers to it.
Such an interesting person. I would love to see Caitlyn. Like if I was at the Abbey and I saw Caitlyn, I would be like, Caitlyn, like that's amazing.
Can I get a selfie?
Speaking of Caitlyn selfies, what was that like really bad video quality selfie thing that she did? I was like, wait, this is a real TV show. Where are the cameras?
I mean, I think that's part of the show that is making it seem this is real and in the documentary. It's confessional because she's taking out her cell phone and taking video. I'm like, just get her a selfie stick though.
Yeah, let's send her one.
I mean, just because it's hard to take a video of yourself and hold it up, especially when you're talking a long time. It's usually too close. So at least with the selfie stick, she could
and she had to find her light. She's 65. She just learned how to FaceTime like last week.
Yeah, so you got to find the right lighting. There's just so much that goes into the selfie thing that I'm a supporter of selfie sticks when it makes sense. If you're just at Disneyland walking around with the selfie stick, I'm like, no. But if it's like,
or
hey,
on Rodeo.
But
so
it's like, hey, I'm trying to film this for my documentary. Like, okay, use a
that
selfie
makes
stick.
sense.
Yeah.
It's funny in those confessionals too, when she's talking to the camera, you just see how old Caitlyn is and how conservative she is. Sometimes it like shows, and you're like, that's the most surprising part to me out of everything is how conservative she is, especially in the Abbey scenes. Like her looking around, she seemed so like out of place. And
out of her element.
I loved that they showed that because I think a lot of people see transgenders and like gay people just as like party, like WeHo, and I'm like, no. It's not just like
it's not just fabulous
Gayland.
It's not like glitter and cocaine and techno music.
No,
please.
I mean, for some people it is.
And I'm not throwing salt to those of you watching who do participate in those activities. Shar isn't throwing shade. I'm just saying it's not a direct reflection of everybody.
But I did love that Jenny sat her down again even after the WeHo thing, which was hilarious because I heard you guys went to you guys went to WeHo, right? You guys went to the Abbey. I was like, was Jenny not invited? Like, did y'all leave out Jenny?
Jenny probably replied to that group text like, girl, please.
Girl, like, I'm at home with my wife. No, thank you.
Eating chicken noodle soup. Something tells me that Jenny Boylan, this is off topic, but something tells me that she has a lot of throws around her house, like throw blankets and things like that.
Cozy.
Kind of like, I can see her just swathed in like layers and like, I bet her couch is comfortable. And she just probably has the best book recommendations. Like that book she had on the table just looked, I don't even know what book it was. It just looked so interesting and just like an interactive experience. Like Jenny is she just gives me ultimate like librarian realness, comfort.
I love
sweater,
everything she
warm
says
tea.
Too. She's like so warm and like everything she says, I'm like, yes.
It's so direct.
Thanks for saying that. Like, Caitlyn needed that, like, sometimes
she was getting Caitlyn together.
Oh my God. I need Jenny to come, like, run my life, my love life, everything. Because what she was saying to Caitlyn, I was like, I do that too. Oh my gosh. I'm deflecting. I'm running away from the problem.
We talked about this.
Yeah, it's like I'm doing all of this. And one of the things that Caitlyn said to her was that she would like to be with a guy who treats her like a normal woman. And I was like, oh, like,
stop
even when she said that, I cringed. And then Jenny came back to her and was like, until you accept it yourself, like, you are a normal woman. That is who you are now. There's no more charades. There's no more dressing up in the closet and, like, hiding it. Like, you were out, you were proud. Like, this is who you are. You have to own that. And I was just thinking to myself, like, not in the same ways, but in some ways, I was like, that's great advice for me too. Like, you have to own it, you have to appreciate it, and just go out there and demand the kind of respect that you want. Sorry, I just went on a rant. Woo.
No, but that's good, especially with dating. Like, you have to have standards. I mean, like, Candace was talking about how she would see all these red flags in relationships and just keep going along. And it's like, you got to set those standards and, like, put your foot down. And I love that Jenny is just always, like, on it with that kind of stuff. She's fierce.
She's the Yoda of the group. She just comes together and she's like, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to hear right now. Like, I'm just going to give it to you.
And to piggyback off of Candace's experience, this surpasses transness. So oftentimes, a lot of women, we don't feel like we're worthy of better. So a lot of women, I think a lot of women could relate to that moment when she said that I saw these red flags and I kept going. Even though I'm not one of them. But I feel like a lot of women could relate to that. And I love how Jenny was calling Caitlyn to the carpet. Like, no, you're not answering my question, sis. This is what I asked you. And yada, yada, yada. I loved that moment.
And she was also saying, she brought up that Caitlyn keeps throwing herself into her work and kind of just, like, covering up things with work. And I totally can relate with that. Like, I have just been working. My dating life is not existing. You know, it happens sometimes, but you have to, like, pay attention to yourself and what you want to do and, like, get yourself out there. I was like, I need Jenny to have this talk with me. This is so awkward.
No. But you know what? I feel like in certain aspects that can be healthy because I'd rather be productive than sitting around.
Well, and it's a good way to be distracted.
It is.
Yeah.
And when Caitlyn was saying how she needed a man, that's what I wanted to piggyback off of. When she said she would like a man to make her make her feel like a woman, so to speak. I shared with the girls while we were watching that I have like a complicated relationship with catcalling because some days when I'm not feeling my best, I can sometimes like rely on those cat calls to kind of reaffirm me, like, okay, Shar, you are that, you are that girl. And then but most days I'm kind of like disgusted by the objectification and the hypersexualization of it all. But I kind of get what Caitlyn was saying about that, because when I date, and especially this summer when I wasn't on my medication, I would look for that as for to reaffirm my womanhood, so to speak. I would look for that in a man. I'm not ashamed to say that because it gets, sometimes it gets hard out here.
Yeah.
So sometimes you need a man to, really, Are you getting emotional, Danica?
I'm crying.
But so yeah, I could relate to that totally.
Yeah, I could too. I mean, I think it's just normal kind of
It
girl
is.
stuff to go through.
It
you know?
is.
Yeah.
You have up days and you have down days. You have days where you feel bloated and unpretty, and those are usually the days when I'm told that I'm gorgeous and beautiful, and I get proposed to by the homeless man on the corner, and I'm like, oh my god, like that? Someone wants to marry me. Thank you, homeless man.
It can change your day.
It can change everything, especially, it's always the days that I feel the worst
or look.
They
always say when you got sweatpants, and a cami on and no makeup and your hair pulled back, everybody's paying you all this attention. But when you step out of the door,
like fresh out the salon, and I'm like, ooh, yes, feeling myself.
Yes.
Feeling myself.
And your makeup is tasteful. Everybody walks clean
and then
past
everyone's
you.
Like, so?
That's always what happens. I hate that, though.
It's part of life, girl. Part of life.
The circle.
I thought it was interesting that they kind of dove into the whole paying aspect of dating. Did you notice how,
Yeah.
I felt like it's like, oh, well, Caitlyn should pay because she's loaded. Like, is that bad?
No, because by default, I would have been like, well, Caitlyn,
so
girl,
much
here's
money.
the check. Here's the check, sis. Thanks for the meal.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have, but that, I don't know, that I just always, and some of you all are going to turn up your nose at this, but frankly, I don't care. I always, look for the man to pay on the date.
Yeah. Okay.
Unless
Especially the
circumstances, certain circumstances.
What are the
possibly.
circumstances?
I don't know, because, sometimes Bae can be going through something. Sometimes there's a rough patch.
Yeah.
I get that we're human. We're in LA. Even if you're not in LA, there's some ups and downs to the job and the check sometimes, and things pop up. So I get it. But like you said, Danica, on the first date.
Otherwise
especially.
it's friend zone. If they don't pay on the first date, I don't think it's a date. If we're going Dutch on the first one, later on after you're dating, I say like split it, whatever. But I struggle with like the in between of being like super feminist, where I'm like equal rights, like women should have rights, and then like I want to be spoiled, treat me like a lady, gentlemen don't exist anymore, like please hold the door
Where
open
is the
for me.
chivalry?
Why does no one pay for my dates anymore? Like I want like a good happy medium of both.
And I think I'm kind of in between you guys. I'm notoriously the world's worst dater. Like, I've been on so many dates that I didn't realize were dates until 3 months later. Like, that's
Whoopsies.
how. Yeah,
And you were like,
whoopsie.
was that a date?
Yeah, because I'm just always like so used to being the guy's friends. Like, I always grew up like hanging out with the boys that I'm just like, oh yeah, like here, like you don't have to pay for. Are you kidding me? Like, let's just go halvesies on it. Like, sure, you had 2 drinks, I had 1, but
They're
like
like
it's
in love
okay.
with you, and you're like, oops.
And then I'm like, oh crap, that was a date.
Yeah.
My bad. So I don't know. It's always awkward because, like Danica said, I don't want to be. I never want someone to. I don't want to assume that someone's gonna pay for me unless they're family. Like if I go anywhere with my brother, I don't even take out my purse anymore. I'm just like. You won't get your wallet out because you paying for that.
That's how I am with my parents. I'm like,
Oh, girl, with my mama and my
no
daddy,
way.
please.
Yeah, I'm like that. I'm like totally okay with just being like, yeah,
Especially
you're
with
paying
my
for it.
father.
oh yeah.
Yeah, but on dates and like even with like friends and stuff, it's just I'm always like, oh, I don't want people to think that I'm assuming or taking advantage of them and their friendship, which some people could have misconstrued what Candace was doing there because it was kind of like, okay, I'll pay for lunch and you pay for my car to get fixed, like jokingly, but it was also kind of like, well,
She
Caitlyn
wasn't
could afford to
joking.
do both of those, so are you joking or are you not joking?
I think
Candace
it's
was not
like-
joking about that car. You pay for my car. She wasn't joking. She just masked it in a laugh. She wasn't joking though. She meant that.
I love the whole like game that is so typical where like the girl pretends like she wants to pay, like, oh, I can get it, like dance through the credit card slowly, and then he's like, oh no honey, I got it, and then he just takes it and you're like, yes, plan all along.
Well, Jen Richards, who is a part of this cast, did say that Caitlyn is a big flirt.
Yes,
She is
super
a
flirty.
big flirt.
I feel like she's always been like super into women and always has just like wanted to be one of the girls on the Kardashians and stuff.
Yeah.
And that
Who
hair
hasn't,
all
though?
along.
When I watch the show and I see the glam squad and all that
yeah.
stuff, I'd be like, when is it my turn to sit in Joyce Bonelli's seat or Mario's seat and get my makeup done and get my hair tossed? When is it my turn?
Can we like try to come in for like the season finale full on like Kylie Jenner contoured makeup, like lashes? We'll have like the lips done and just like try to be like that. We could take selfies the whole time and see if anyone watches. Be fabulous. But Caitlyn's totally turning into like a Kardashian.
She's
And I know
always been
she's
one.
always been one. But
She's always
Glam
been
Squad,
one.
Like,
Glam Squad
the
every day,
closet,
leopard print dresses,
like, tearing up
selfies. Caitlyn is a Kardashian. She is not. That doesn't strike me as Jenner. When I think Jenner, I think a little bit more
natural.
demure and a little bit more. I don't know, but she's a Kardashian. Leopard print dresses, selfies, and a full glam squad every morning. She is a Kardashian.
Think of how many years she spent in that house with nothing but Kardashian
That's
women.
probably why
Yeah.
she's
That
dating.
is
She turned into
that
a
is
woman from
yeah
being
that
around
is
them, probably.
her idea of what a woman is, because that is what she's
That
seen.
is
That
true.
is she's watched girls go through like the whole puberty into adulthood, and that is her idea of, oh my god, that's how girls are. That's how
And
I'm
she used
supposed
to hang
be.
out in Chris's bathroom. Remember, Chris used to be irritated
yeah.
because her
Yeah.
bathroom's like a suite. Why are you watching TV in here, Bruce? Out of all of the TVs, while she's like getting her makeup done, Caitlyn was in the recliner, watching TV, probably sucking her teeth and rolling her eyes at Chris the whole time. When is it my turn?
I know,
but,
right?
I mean, if that's the idea,
But-
I grew up in a house where my mom didn't wear makeup or do anything, so that's the kind of that's what I think of in womanhood. So those are things that I don't necessarily do or obsess with.
And I was the
so
total opposite. My mom and her sisters are Southern belles, and everything, nails done, fragrance, and makeup and hair every day. They're not materialistic people, but that was just part of the process. I can
Yeah.
remember being a child, like 4 years old, looking at my mom get ready for work. That is her and her sisters. Fragrance, nails, hair, and makeup.
Oh, yeah.
Every
Yeah.
day.
And that's
And
what
look at
you-
me.
Yeah, and like gorgeous. But like
Thank
that's
you.
what you grew
Thank
up
you.
with, so that is your
Yeah.
routine now.
Yeah.
I grew up with not that's my routine.
So it's all
Caitlyn grew up
subjective.
with a full glam team
I
living
never
in their
looked at it
house,
like
and
that.
that is, I mean, I'm just having thoughts.
But
right
even
now.
Caitlyn's mother is
Yeah,
jazzy.
even
Esther,
Caitlyn-
She's
yeah, Esther.
fabulous.
Esther is jazzy to be, how old is she?
How old is Esther?
If Caitlyn's
So, like,
65,
I think Esther's in her
Early-
80s.
I think she's gonna say at least 80.
Yeah.
I think she's in her 80s. But
I think she's
Esther
in her
is
80s
jazzy.
too.
She's jazzy.
Oh my gosh, I love the episode where they brought Esther on. I wish they would do that more.
She'll be back next week, right?
Oh yes, that's awesome. And Chris is coming back, or coming on next week, I should say. I can't wait to see Chris. I know you can't wait to. Big Chris fan.
My fave.
I just can't wait to see what they talk about and to see how awkward it is, or if they're just best girlfriends now.
No, Chris is going to be crying.
It's going to be intense.
We see that in the teaser. She's a big crybaby. I'm a big crybaby too, but Chris is going to be crying. And I think that people never, this summer I worked with a woman who said, because I shared with her, I have been on the Oprah show, but in the audience, and talked to Oprah.
Oh my God.
But anyhow, I was talking
One
because
degree away from Oprah.
she asked me, with me being a Chicago native, have I ever been to Oprah? And I was like, girl, I've done 2 live classes. I was on season 25 with Fran Drescher. I did
amazing.
this. Thank you. But she said that she used to try to get in on the show because her sister's ex-husband transitioned to female, and she was shedding perspective on how the media never focuses on that part of it. It's all about celebrating the trans person in the moment, which is worthy of celebration. It's liberation and all of that. But the media, people never focus on how is Kris Jenner doing? How is, you know what I'm saying?
And that's what I really want to know, is how Kris is dealing
really
with this,
doing.
especially because this family cares so much about image and presence and the media and, money and all these other things.
And even aside
how
from
is
that,
she
just
doing?
personally.
Personally with her
Yeah.
relationship and being married to someone and having kids with
25
them.
years. Weren't they married for
Kids.
25 years?
Yeah.
But Chris did know.
Interesting.
Remember, Caitlyn said she was on hormones for 2 years. Stopped, told Chris, because she said she was growing like a solid B cup. Stopped, and then that's when they started having Kylie and Kendall, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, it's during the Diane Sawyer interview. She goes into detail about that. But still, 25 years with someone, even though Bruce did look very, very feminine, there were jokes about, his hair and his face.
On Family Guy.
Yeah,
and stuff.
everywhere.
For years
everywhere.
they've been saying this.
But still,
yeah.
people don't look at that. And I feel like that's a good portion of this conversation to explore, to interview, and really talk to, and not even so much to get the rage aspect, but just how are you doing? And I don't feel like people who, are married to people who transition really get that justice. They don't get that due diligence. It's all about celebrating the trans person, which I'm not taking away from. I'm just saying, No,
but that's why I loved the first episode of this show of I Am Cait, because we saw Esther come in and we saw that she was still struggling with the acceptance and how to feel, and that's why during that first episode we were like, wow, this is amazing. We're really going there and we're seeing the other side, and so many times it's glossed over, through all the hard stuff and just to the positive stuff. So it was really nice to see Esther, and that's why I'm excited to see Esther come back, to see how she's doing now with it, and if it's getting better or if she's still struggling with it, and then to see Kris as well will be great.
I feel like we were kind of not too hard on the show, but I feel like we've kind of had our ups and downs with it, and I really like it now. I feel like the last couple episodes have been way stronger than the first.
Yeah, I think it was episode 2 and 3. The road trips
the
were
road
just.
trips.
You
I
all
did
told
not
me about that
like.
last week. I really liked the road trips. I've
I
liked
don't know
every
why.
episode. I've liked every episode.
I love it now, but a couple weeks back, I was not feeling Caitlyn. I was like, Caitlyn, you are an
Caitlyn does seem like a
oxymoron
nag.
of a human being, and she was nagging people. She was really irritating me, but they also made it that way in that episode where the girls were kind of ganging up on her, and she said some stupid ignorant things, and you're like, did
I
you
thought they
really
depend
just
on
say
social
that?
service.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to depend on social service?
She starts
You're
talking
gonna
about
think I'm a
welfare and
prostitute?
things, or people
Now,
think
come
I'm a
on.
hooker now, and I'm like, oh, dude, you did not just say that. You did not just say that. But
She's so out of
her
touch.
a lot
Yeah.
more. The
But
last couple episodes.
I think I said this last week, when you are in a certain tax bracket, you can afford to put your blinders on to a lot of stuff. And so with her going to the Human Rights Campaign and being where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, she was forced to have that conversation. But when you have a certain tax bracket, you don't have to, that's not crossing your mind. So I don't know if I completely fault her for that, but I do think that she should have known better.
Yeah.
Come on now. It's Caitlyn. Girl.
The last couple episodes, though, she hasn't been saying things as bad as she was that
Yeah,
road trip episode. But I just am dying to see this Kris episode now. I can't wait for it. One last thing. What did you think about her getting Candace that car?
Renting her a Lambo?
For a couple days, too. I was actually expecting her to buy her a car.
Me
but,
too.
like, a less
Me
fancy
too.
car. I thought she was going to, like, buy her a Mercedes or something
Me too.
like that.
I will say this about the rented car. I hope to one day be in a position where I can do that for one of my friends and it be like, oh, no big. I'm going to do this for my friend. Right now, bitch, please. You ain't getting a rented car for me. I need a new car myself.
You'll
so,
be right on the 166 bus.
like, you need a ride? If you're on my way somewhere, I'll get you. Like,
But if not,
You heard
you'll
of
be on that
Uber?
Sepulveda bus. Or Uber.
Uber,
I
Lyft.
thought that it was just too, I didn't like that part.
I thought it was weird that they went on a date together and then Caitlyn got her a car for a few days, but then Candace brought over some dude to evaluate like their matchmaking and like who they would be good with, but not really necessarily each other. Just like
Didn't he work
almost
for
like
a dating service? Yeah, okay.
And so I
Jinx.
thought it was interesting that they were like dating, but then like talking about joining a dating service.
I don't think they're dating though. I don't
They're,
think
like,
they're
friend
dating.
zone.
They go to like casual dinners. I don't think.
I think that Courtney and Caitlyn's team keep referring to her as referring to Candace as
Like kissing
Caitlyn's
in a
girlfriend.
tree
Like,
or
yeah,
whatever.
it's always, oh, your girlfriend's calling. Oh, this,
Yeah.
and it's kind of as if I think Caitlyn might have a little crush, but nothing more than that. Right now, it's a friendship.
She's
and
just flirty. I don't
Yeah.
see anything between Candace and Caitlyn.
I don't either. I feel like they're
And
like
Candace is
changing
attracted
it
to
look
men.
that way,
yeah,
but
it's like she talks about men the whole time.
Candace
what
is
they're-
attracted to men.
Yeah.
Not other other women, I should say, because not everyone, sometimes you don't need the trans in front of it. But I don't know. I don't see that. But it is interesting how Caitlyn is struggling with what she wants. That's what I find so interesting about that, because even though you transition, that does not affect your sexuality. So I don't understand that when she's like, I don't know what I want.
I don't either. It's
Do you think it
confusing
has,
to me.
going back to her conservative views of like lesbianism being
think
the issue
she-
here? Like she's so
I don't wanna drop
conservative that
lesbian.
she's like,
Being
I
gay.
can't be a lesbian because her conservative views would go against it.
But girl,
But you're trans.
But,
That's
I
the
mean,
thing
yeah,
that doesn't
that's-
make sense. She's so conservative and like closed-minded, but she's trans.
But that's what
and
makes her so interesting.
it's
She's a
so
conservative Christian, Republican, lesbian parent of 10 with 3 failed marriages. No one
What?
has a story like that.
What? Like,
No
it's
one has a
so
story like that.
Wild when you think about it. And it just like blows my mind, really. I think that she has a hard time seeing herself as gay. I think she doesn't want to
does.
call herself gay because she's conservative.
Yeah, that could be it. But hey, you like what you like, and she's too old.
Yeah.
Caitlyn, you are in the sunset of your life. You need to be living it to the full. She is.
And this is
65.
true.
You're over the hill,
65.
sis. You need to be
Over it.
living it to your fullest potential, and you need to. She spent so many years in the spotlight. I'm pretty sure, I would hope she wouldn't let the opinions of the public affect her, but I know that Caitlyn's getting it way harder than Bruce was. So it's I could see the struggle with being constantly self-assured, because no one is 100% self-assured 24/7. But
she's finally being herself for the
Yeah.
first time. And like,
Yeah.
I think I've already said this on the show, but I just couldn't imagine being like 65 years old and still like not knowing who I was and
it
feeling
makes me
insecure.
itch thinking about
Yeah,
it.
I'm like,
It makes me itch.
I'm so happy for her that she's done this, but I'm also like, wow, this is happening so fast, so publicly. It's such a wild ride for us to even watch.
She's still
crazy.
learning. She has a lot to learn. She's still learning. And I don't know if you want to talk about Candace and her abusive relationship. Did we already talk about Candace and her abusive
No, we
relationship?
didn't talk
Not
about that.
really. I mean, she did get all those red flags she was saying, and she
Yeah,
keeps,
we
like,
touched on that.
coming back for more, which I kind of thought it was interesting this whole episode because they made it seem like they were dating kind of, and she was like, yeah, I just see red flags
And the
just
hands,
keep
you know how
hanging
their
out,
hands
you know?
were, they were zooming in on their hands.
You can
and
do
the knuckle
whatever and I'll
rub.
be here. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of
knuckle rub.
interesting editing with the rest of the
And then the
plot.
matchmaker that said, that Caitlyn would basically date her best friend and then looked at Candace and was
Right.
like, I think I just did my job. So
And it's like,
Yeah.
you
nah.
gonna pay me that 100 G's or whatever I make for this?
So ridiculous.
And-
but I'm like, doesn't everyone want to kind of be with their best friend in a way?
Right.
Yeah.
You have to be.
You need to be compatible.
You have to be.
Get along.
But Candace, I don't know. I just feel like so many aspects of this particular episode, it blurs the lines. Well, it makes cisgender women relate to transgender women. It could go for anyone. That's what I really, really, really liked about this episode. All the stories shared, and even when they went to go get their pedicures, when Shandy and Candace went to go get their pedicures, and Shandy was just kind of like encouraging Candace, like, don't give up on love, because it's hard. It's hard. You can't use your transness as an excuse as to why you're single when there are natural born cisgender women walking around here with the same issues that you have. Yeah. So it's not fair for you to say, oh, I can't find a man or whatever because I'm trans, because that may not be the case.
Yeah. We're all single here.
Men are going to be men at the end of the day, no matter how you slice it, who they're attracted to. I'm pretty sure some gay men out there are like, yes, Shar girl, even I go through it. So I thought that was important to point out, because I know so many people do rest on that, like, oh, I'm trans, so this date is this date is that. But no, it happens to everyone.
Everyone says that about something, though. They're like, oh, I'm too fat, or I haven't worked out enough, or like I'm trans. Like everyone has their one excuse they go to where they're like, I'm single because blank.
Yeah, my experience.
I don't have time for a boyfriend.
I'm single because
that's mine.
Look, do you mind if I borrow that?
Yeah, I'm like, I'm so busy.
So
I don't
much
have
work.
time for a boyfriend.
Oh. With my experience,
just
I
like
date.
Caitlyn, burying yourself in work. I can't date.
With my experience, I date, and I date often. It's just that every guy it's not me. It's you. Seriously, every guy. Can I drop an F-bomb?
No scrubs. I say it's fine. I don't know.
Every guy that I come across is a fuck boy, typically. And if you don't know that, you look up the definition. BuzzFeed has a definition. I think MTV has some.
Urban Dictionary.
Urban Dictionary. Sure. They all are. It's like they're not on my level. People are unemployed. And like I said, I get that life happens, but they just don't have their shit together enough for me.
Delete Tinder.
So it's just, I did. I deleted it right after the show last week.
I need to just take my own advice
They're
now.
all, it's just like they never, so that's why I don't put it on me. I know it's not me. I got my shit together for the most part. Not 100%. But every guy is like, that's what they tend to be, or they tend to be chauvinistic and, just like they're in control and I'm not an equal. Like, it's just, I could talk about this for hours, but like I said, it's y'all, it ain't me.
At the end of the day, it's your problem, not mine.
It ain't me. That's what Shandy said, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember her exact quote, but she said something along those lines, like, that's them, baby. It ain't you.
I love that, though. As soon as Candace brought it up, she was like, girl, please. Like in the nail salon. I was just like loving that moment. So
Shandy gives you
Shandy.
black auntie realness.
Yes.
She reminds me of somebody's aunt that I know.
She's so fabulous. I want more of her on the show.
With her hat.
hat.
So she called her wigs, her hats.
Well, this was kind of a perfect episode for Girls' Night here at AfterBuzz.
Yes.
Good girls' table episode. I think we pretty much wrapped up everything. I'm just excited about Chris next week. I mean, we can't really do predictions too crazy on this show. I'm sure we're going to see tons of VMA stuff when we go home tonight, though, with the Kardashians everywhere. Maybe Caitlyn's like in the back hanging out, you know.
I was looking at Kylie's Snapchat. If you guys don't follow her, it's
her and Tyga tonight.
And Kanye's dressing room was lit. Like, I wanted to be in. Every time she snaps a party, I want to be there. Like, their parties look so fun, and they were just turning up in Kanye's dressing room. It was like the black light was on. Like, I'm like,
you are crazy.
It was. Listen, I'll show you after the show.
It's super
they were getting
drunk,
turned
having fun.
Turned up.
Looks like a blast.
I gotta weasel my way into that family somehow. Family friend. Don't judge me.
Just
watch
gotta
them on next
marry
season.
your way in somehow.
I'll just become
I'm like,
a friend.
hey, is Brody single? Do we know? Just
Brody don't fool with them now.
I wish. Well, where can they find you on social media, you guys?
For me, it's Shar Says So. You can find me on Instagram, Shar Says So, Facebook, Shar Says So, and Twitter, Shar Says So. It's all the same, so holla at me.
Holla. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at the Tiona Hobson.
And you can find me all over social media at Danica Kennedy. Thanks for watching our after show. See you guys next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Bye. See you later.
do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners. The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.